where we uncover the forgotten archives of human civilization. Today, we confront the greatest intellectual tragedy in our history, the legendary Library of Alexandria. It wasn't just a building, it was the world's collective memory, housing 500,000 scrolls, the accumulated wisdom of the ancient world. But this beacon of knowledge simply vanished. Who was the real culprit? Was it a single cataclysmic fire or a slow, agonizing demise? Get ready to separate the spectacular myth from the devastating truth. The library's story begins not with fire, but with ambition. Following the death of Alexander the Great, his general, Ptolemy I Soter, envisioned a universal center of learning in his new Egyptian capital, Alexandria. This wasn't just a library, it was an entire research complex called the Museion, the seat of the Muses. It was Ptolemy II Philadelphus who truly built the collection. His mission was aggressive: acquire every known piece of writing in the world. Royal decree mandated that every ship docking at Alexandria's port surrender its scrolls to be copied. The original was kept by the library, and the copy was returned to the owner. This relentless pursuit of knowledge quickly ballooned the collection size. At its peak, estimates for the collection size range wildly from 40,000 to over 400,000 papyrus rolls, a collection size almost unimaginable for the time. This was humanity's first unified encyclopedia. Giants like Euclid, who codified geometry, Eratosthenes, who accurately calculated the circumference of the Earth, and Callimachus, who created the world's first ever library catalog, all worked within these walls. The library was not just a storehouse, it was a workshop. Now, let's address the most famous tale of destruction, the supposed villain, Julius Caesar. In 48 BCE, while besieged in the royal palace by Ptolemy XIII's forces, Caesar, in a desperate move, ordered his fleet in the harbor to be set ablaze to prevent its capture. Ancient sources, notably Plutarch, state that the fire spread from the dockyards to the city, destroying the great library. This image, Caesar accidentally burning the greatest treasure of the ancient world, is the one that endures. But here's the fact. Contemporary accounts from Caesar and others never explicitly mention the destruction of the main Museion building. Historians now largely agree that the fire most likely destroyed a detached warehouse near the docks, which stored an overflow of scrolls waiting to be processed for the library. The library itself, located in the royal quarter, may have suffered some losses, but it was not utterly annihilated in 48 BC. The institution, the scholars, the collection continued, albeit wounded. It survived Caesar. If not Caesar, then who? The library's story is not a single catastrophe, but a series of slow, violent blows across 4 centuries. The first signs of fatal sickness were not fire, but politics. As Rome's influence grew, the Ptolemaic dynasty crumbled, and the royal patronage that funded the Museion faded. Scholars, deprived of resources and security, began to leave. The library slowly began to starve. The next major blow came in 270 to 275 CE. The city was under siege by the forces of Roman Emperor Aurelian, battling the rebel queen Zenobia of Palmyra. Aurelian's final assault devastated the royal quarter. Evidence suggests this attack was far more destructive to the primary Museion library than Caesar's fire. But even this wasn't the final end. You see, the library had a daughter library, a public collection housed in the Serapeum, a magnificent temple dedicated to the god Serapis. The 4th century brought the rise of Christianity. In 391 CE, Emperor Theodosius I decreed the destruction of all pagan temples. Theophilus, the zealot Christian patriarch of Alexandria, led the charge against the Serapeum. The Serapeum, housing the last great collection of scrolls, was ravaged and converted into a church. The contents were likely destroyed, dispersed, or neglected. This was arguably the most definitive destruction of any remaining formal library structure. Yet another suspect exists, the Muslim Caliph Omar. According to a later, unverified legend, when the Arabs conquered Alexandria in 642 CE, Caliph Omar was asked what to do with the library's books. He supposedly replied, "If the books agree with the Quran, they are superfluous. If they contradict it, they are heretical. Destroy them." The scrolls, the legend says, were then used as fuel to heat the city's public bathhouses for 6 months. The historical consensus. This story, appearing hundreds of years after the fact, is almost certainly a myth, used for political or religious propaganda. By 642 CE, there was no great library left to burn. The collection had been gradually picked apart by neglect, internal purges, political instability, and 4 centuries of conflict. The real killer of the library was not a single spectacular fire, but a long, slow-motion disaster, the lack of funding, the loss of cultural interest, and the ravages of time and the humid Egyptian climate on papyrus scrolls. This is the true tragedy. We lost the plays of Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides that had only existed in Alexandria. We lost works by Aristotle, the complete texts of early astronomers, and countless advancements in mathematics and engineering. The Library of Alexandria has been reincarnated today as the magnificent Bibliotheca Alexandrina, but its ghost remains a powerful lesson. In our age of digital information, we think knowledge is safe. But how easily could political instability, economic collapse, or even digital decay erase our own collective hard drive? The loss of the Library of Alexandria didn't just set civilization back. It gave us a moral obligation. We must constantly guard, fund, and maintain the institutions that preserve our knowledge. If we don't, even the greatest truths can simply fade to dust. We know who burned the library, but what do you think was the single greatest piece of knowledge lost that day? Astrology? Lost plays? Let us know in the comments below. If you love discovering the real truth behind history's greatest myths, make sure you're subscribed to Global History Tales for our next untold story, and we'll see you next time.